Alright guys, so in my last video I showed you an unboxing, and in a video or so before that I'd finished the build on my EPP here. Now this is where I show you the mods I've done since then, and it's been kind of a while because the holiday season, work, and other things I had going on, so I've been on this off and on. But anyways, for starters, you probably, if you watched the unboxing video, you saw metal servo mounting bracket. Now that was for this. I glued this into place and I cut this out down here. As you can see, it pops right out. But you can also see the little slot right back there. That's for the servo wire to feed down into. This is going to be for a pan tilt mount that I'm going to put in place here. And yeah, so that I plan to fashion that pan tilt mount to hold a Mobius. Hopefully it will. I mean, it should. Mobius isn't heavy in any way. But yeah, there's that. I'm planning to power my receiver off of this because, you know, besides the fact that it provides a bit more security than just the BEC, sorry, too many acronyms. Besides that, this also supplies more amperage, and if you remember my video transmitter, it gets so hot that it requires a heat sink and 2 fans setup to run to keep it cool. So I am going to need something that supplies plenty of amps to power it, so it can provide 4 amp sustain, which is like 1 or 2 more than the BEC on the ESC provides. And I have it set to the 5 volt output. I'll swap between it and 6 volts, see where that goes. But anyways, so you can see I have everything side mounted in there. The receiver's sitting right here. It has this little, I think it's a 6-inch extension. And that's for this. See, I drilled through a hole here for my dipole antenna to fit through, and you can see I took my X-Acto and drilled cut a V cut in there for it to sit in to cut down on excess air drag. I'm gonna cover that with hatch hinge tape. I'm going to replace this with hinge tape when that comes in the next order. And yeah, I also drilled holes in here, kind of inspired from my Big Sword 2, to let in airflow. The exhaust holes are right there and right there on either side of the ESC, and both of them sit right in front of the propeller, so hopefully that will help pull air through, pass it along the ESC and keep it cool. And you can see my battery here. I cut off the XT60 and replaced it with 3.5mm bullets, which are interchangeable and compatible with XT60s, but they take up less space. And you can see my servo wires here. Trying to keep them low profile. Made a quick run through for them here to go through. And I also took the old plastic skid plate from my Big Sword 2. I cut it up and turned it into skids for these. And they're not super permanent in any way. In a bad crash they'll break off like nothing, but they're just a little bit of added protection so nothing just catches on these rings. And I also scraped I just chipped the epoxy off of these two. They already kind of sit pretty stiff. You got to wiggle them around, but you know, I moved them to a better position so they don't bind up the push rods as much. And I gotta say, so far, you know, I haven't flown with them yet, but I'm not a huge fan of the linkage stopper kind of setup. I like the one on the Big Sword 2 that had the, you know, the rings, these little hook things here, this kind of zigzag setup with the snap clevises that like threaded on and tighten, and you can adjust a little bit. I'd much prefer those, because these kept sliding back and forth even when this was tightened with thread walker on it, like all over it. So if even this doesn't work, even with the epoxy I dabbed on the sides here, I'm just gonna scrap the linkage stopper setup and take the old push rods from my Big Sword and jerry rig hooks on these so I can make use of the clevises, because I much prefer those. But anyways, on to the next thing. I finally found out what those little carbon bars are that came with it originally that I didn't know what to do with. They are reinforcements for the elevator and the rudder. Now, I used the wedge tips from my X-Acto knife, and I gotta admit, it wasn't really a neat job, but I cut a little inset for them. I glued them into place, so that should reinforce it. And in that unboxing, you saw those flap hinges, like those Big Sword flap hinges. I finished up on the rudder and the elevator, and on the flaps as well. So yeah, we're all good there. Got all that set up. Oh, and the last thing, I got my prop. I got the ends smoothed off. I put it on the balancer. I got it balanced, and it still shakes around a bit when the motor's spooling up. Well, that's mainly when it's spooled up at a higher RPMs. There's not much I can do about that, since it's actually on the prop spinner where it's uneven. But that's only when I use this for the time being, because I plan on swapping out for the folding prop adapter and spinner. And I already got one of those in the last video, as you saw, but the problem with those is they didn't fit each other. They were the wrong size for each other. I didn't know that, because I probably should have kept that in mind when I saw that the prop spinner's compatible size wasn't listed. So anyways, yeah, I got an actual whole spinner and folding prop set coming in the next order that I got on the way. So yeah, hopefully that I won't be stuck with this too long. I'll have a folding prop ready to go. But yeah, so I learned from that. It's a little mistake. But in the meantime, in the next day or so, I'll take it up in the air, give it a test run, and see how it flies, and hopefully these linkages don't give me any problems. But yeah, in the meantime, all I can say is I will talk to you guys later.